Coca-Cola has one of the most protected secrets in human history. Not nuclear codes, not government files, just a soda recipe. A recipe so guarded that only two people in the entire company know the full formula at any given time, and those two people are never allowed to be on the same airplane. They have kept that secret since 1886. Over 100 years, through 2 world wars, through the rise of the internet, through every hack, every leak, every corporate espionage attempt. Nobody has gotten the full formula except one person. And he wasn't a spy, he wasn't a scientist, he wasn't even a Coke employee. He was a rabbi. And what that rabbi found inside the world's most secret recipe quietly changed what billions of people drink every single day without a single press release. Without a single announcement, without most people ever finding out. And that secret led to something even weirder. A hidden version of Coke, made with a completely different recipe than what you buy at the store, available only a few weeks a year, hiding in plain sight on grocery store shelves right next to the regular stuff. You cannot tell by looking at the bottle, you cannot tell by the label. The only way to spot it is the cap. Every spring, thousands of people who know this secret quietly descend on grocery stores across America and clear the shelves of every yellow-capped bottle they can find. Not because of some internet trend, they do it because it tastes different, because it really is different. Because the Coke you drink every single day in the United States is not and has not been for decades the original recipe. And the rest of the world, they never switched. Today on The Hype Hunt, we are cracking open one of the most fascinating corporate secrets hiding in your refrigerator. Why your Coke is lying to you, why a rabbi changed a billion-dollar formula, why people pay $5 for a glass bottle from Mexico, and how to find the version of Coke that Coca-Cola doesn't advertise, sitting right there on your grocery store shelf. Let's hunt. To understand why your Coke tastes different, we have to go back, way back, all the way to 1935, and we have to talk about a rabbi named Tobias Geffen. Now stick with me here because this story is genuinely wild. In the early 1900s, millions of Jewish immigrants were arriving in America. They were building new lives, new communities, and new traditions in a new country. And like everyone else in America, they absolutely loved Coca-Cola. But here was the problem. Jewish dietary law, called kosher law, has very specific rules about what you can and cannot eat or drink, and nobody in the Jewish community knew for sure whether Coke met those standards. Was it kosher? Was it not? Nobody could answer that question, because nobody outside of Coca-Cola's inner circle knew what was actually in Coke. The formula was, and still is, one of the most guarded secrets in the entire world. So Rabbi Geffen did something bold. He reached out to Coca-Cola directly. He said, "Look, I represent a massive community of loyal customers. We love your product, we want to keep buying it, but we need to know what's in it." And Coca-Cola, faced with the very real possibility of losing an entire market segment, made a decision that they have almost never made before or since. They showed Rabbi Geffen the secret formula. A rabbi in Atlanta in 1935 became one of the only people outside of the Coca-Cola company to ever see the actual recipe. And what did he find? Beef tallow, cow fat, and the glycerin used in the formula, which is a massive problem if you keep kosher, because mixing meat products with certain other foods violates Jewish dietary law. But here is where the story gets really interesting. Rabbi Geffen did not just write a letter and walk away. He negotiated. He told Coca-Cola, here is what needs to change for this product to be certified kosher. The beef tallow and the glycerin needs to go. Replace it with vegetable glycerin. And Coca-Cola, because they wanted that certification and they wanted that market, actually did it. They changed their global production formula for a rabbi in Atlanta. Think about that for a second. One of the most powerful corporations in the world changed a core ingredient in their globally distributed product because a rabbi asked them to. That is not a small thing. That is not a footnote. That is the first time in Coke's history that outside pressure, religious, cultural, community pressure actually moved the needle on what goes into the bottle. And it would not be the last time. Because about 50 years later, another outside force was going to change Coke's formula again. This time it wasn't a rabbi. It was the United States government, and a very, very cheap crop called corn. The year is 1980. Ronald Reagan just got elected, MTV just launched, and the US government just made a decision that would quietly change the taste of your favorite soda, and almost nobody noticed. Here's the background. For most of Coke's history, going all the way back to 1886, the sweetener in Coca-Cola was cane sugar. Simple, natural, straight from the sugarcane plant, the same stuff you put in your coffee. But in the late 1970s and into the 1980s, the US government started heavily subsidizing corn production. Subsidizing means paying farmers to grow it, which means corn became incredibly, almost impossibly cheap. And when corn is cheap, high fructose corn syrup becomes cheap too. HFCS is a sweetener made from processed cornstarch. It is liquid, it is easy to transport, it is easy to mix. And in the early 1980s, it was significantly cheaper than cane sugar. So Coca-Cola did what any massive corporation would do when faced with a cheaper ingredient that does roughly the same job. They made the switch. Quietly, without a press release, without a big announcement, they just swapped it in. Cane sugar out, high fructose corn syrup in, and just like that, the Coke that Americans had been drinking since 1886 was no longer the same drink. Now, Coca-Cola will tell you the difference is minimal, that most people cannot tell in a blind taste test. And honestly, for a lot of people, they're probably right. But here is where it gets really interesting, because that switch created a massive, unexpected problem. Remember the kosher certification? Remember Rabbi Geffen's negotiation back in 1935? Well, Jewish dietary law for Passover is even stricter than regular kosher law. During Passover, the 8-day Jewish holiday that commemorates the exodus from Egypt, there is an additional restriction called kitniot. Kitniot refers to a category of foods, legumes, grains, certain seeds that many Jewish communities do not consume during Passover. In corn? Corn is kitniot, which means high fructose corn syrup made from corn is not acceptable for Passover observance for a huge portion of the Jewish community. Suddenly, the regular version of Coke that had been certified kosher since 1935 was no longer acceptable for Passover. Coke had a problem. They had a loyal, dedicated consumer base that wanted their product specifically during a major religious holiday, and their new, cheaper formula had just made that impossible. So what did they do? They created a special run. Once a year, right before Passover, Coca-Cola produces a limited batch of Coke made with real cane sugar instead of HFCS. And to make it easy to identify on the shelf, they put a yellow cap on it. That is the yellow cap. That is what the treasure hunters are looking for every spring. Not a gimmick, not a marketing stunt, a religious accommodation that accidentally became a cult phenomenon. Because once people started tasting the cane sugar version side by side with the regular version, they realized something. It tastes better, and that realization opened up a whole new rabbit hole. Because if Coke with cane sugar tastes better, and Americans only get it for a few weeks a year, what is the rest of the world drinking? Welcome to the part of the video where things get spicy. Because here's the thing about Coca-Cola's One Taste Everywhere marketing. It is, how do I put this diplomatically, a bold claim. Because depending on where in the world you pop open a Coke, you are drinking something meaningfully different. Let's do a quick world tour. Mexico. Mexican Coke has become so legendary in the United States that people pay $4, $5, sometimes $6 for a single glass bottle at a taqueria. When a regular 20-ounce Coke costs $2 at a gas station, that is a significant premium. Why do people pay it? There are two reasons, and both of them matter. Number one, cane sugar. Mexico never switched to high fructose corn syrup the way the US did. Mexican Coke is still made with real cane sugar. The sweetness hits differently, cleaner, less lingering, more crisp. Number two, the glass bottle. And we are going to come back to this one in a minute because it deserves its own section. The Mexican Coke cult is not just nostalgia. It is not just vibes. There is actual science behind why it tastes better to a lot of people. And the fact that restaurants and stores can charge a premium for it and people keep paying tells you everything you need to know about how real the difference is. Now, let's move to Europe and the UK. In many European countries, Coke is made with either beet sugar or cane sugar, neither of which is high fructose corn syrup. Beet sugar and cane sugar are both sucrose, chemically very similar. The taste difference between them is minimal, but both are noticeably different from HFCS when you drink them side by side. European Coke drinkers, many of whom have never had the American HFCS version, sometimes describe American Coke as tasting heavier or syrupier. And they're not wrong. Let's check out Africa and parts of Asia that are also largely cane sugar markets. So when you zoom out and look at the global picture, the United States is actually the outlier. America is one of the only major markets in the world where the standard version of Coca-Cola is made with high fructose corn syrup. Everyone else is out here drinking what Americans pay a premium for at taco spots. Let that sink in. Now, let's talk about the science because it is important. Here's the difference between cane sugar and high fructose corn syrup in your body simplified. Regular cane sugar, called sucrose, is one molecule. Your body breaks it down evenly. The sweetness hits and then fades cleanly. High fructose corn syrup is processed differently. The fructose and glucose are already separated before they hit your tongue, and the sweetness tends to linger longer. Some people describe it as coating the mouth. In blind taste tests, results are genuinely mixed. Some people truly cannot tell the difference, but a significant number of people consistently prefer the cane sugar version, especially when drinking from glass rather than plastic. And here's the most important thing I can tell you about the taste debate. Your brain is not just tasting the liquid, it is tasting the experience. The weight of a glass bottle, the sound of a metal cap popping off, the coldness of the glass against your hand, and the smell before the first sip. All of that is data that your brain processes alongside the actual flavor, which is why Mexican Coke from a glass bottle at a taqueria will almost always beat a plastic bottle of American Coke from a gas station, even if the formula were identical. Corn syrup is mid, cane sugar is goated, and glass bottles are the cheat code. Okay, so here is where I want to give Coca-Cola some credit, because what they have pulled off is actually kind of genius. Stay with me. Coke's official marketing position for decades has been built around the idea of universality. The real thing. I'd like to buy the world a Coke. Taste the feeling. The entire brand is built on the idea that no matter where you are, no matter what country, what city, what corner of the planet, you can pick up a Coke and it will taste like home. It is one of the most powerful brand promises ever made. There is just one small problem with it. It is not entirely true, and Coca-Cola knows it. In fact, buried in their own corporate communications, they openly acknowledge that their formula is adapted to local tastes and local ingredients. Local tastes, local ingredients. That is a very polished way of saying we use whatever's cheapest in your market and call it the same drink. Now, is that evil? Is that some kind of sinister corporate conspiracy? Honestly, not really. This is just how global food manufacturing works. McDonald's uses different oils in different countries. KFC has different menu items depending on where you are. Even Oreos have regional recipe variations. Coke adapting to local markets is not unusual. What is unusual and what makes this story so fascinating is how aggressively they market global consistency while quietly maintaining local differences. They want you to feel like you're drinking the same drink as someone in Tokyo and someone in Lagos and someone in London. And emotionally, maybe you are. The branding is the same, the logo's the same, the vibe is the same. But the liquid in the bottle? Not always identical. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough attention in this conversation. The container. Because the bottle or can you drink from is not just packaging, it is part of the flavor experience, and the science on this is legitimately fascinating. Glass bottles. Glass is non-porous. It doesn't absorb anything. It doesn't release anything. The Coke inside a glass bottle tastes exactly like Coke because nothing from the container is interacting with the liquid. Glass also stays colder longer, and cold temperature suppresses bitterness and amplifies sweetness, so your Coke tastes sweeter and crisper from glass. Aluminum cans. Cans are lined on the inside with a polymer coating to prevent the aluminum from reacting with the acidic soda. Most people cannot taste this coating, but some people are sensitive to it and describe canned Coke as having a very faint metallic edge. Aluminum also conducts cold extremely well, which is why a properly chilled can of Coke is genuinely excellent. Plastic bottles. Plastic is porous at a microscopic level. Over time, and especially in heat, plastic can leach trace compounds into the liquid inside. Ever left a plastic bottle of Coke in a hot car and then tasted it? That slightly off flavor is not your imagination. That is chemistry. Plastic also does not insulate well, so your Coke warms up faster, and warm Coke is objectively worse than cold Coke. This is why the yellow cap version, which comes in plastic, will still taste slightly different from Mexican Coke in glass, even though both are made with cane sugar. So let's tally this up. You have different sweeteners depending on your country, different sugar sources depending on your region, different container materials affecting the flavor chemistry, different temperatures affecting sweetness perception, and Coke calls all of it the real thing. The real thing is, it's a masterclass in brand management. Sell a feeling, adapt the product, never break the illusion. Honestly, respect. But also, now you know, and you can never unknow it. How to find Yellow Cap Coke. Yellow Cap season runs during Passover, which typically falls somewhere between late March and late April, depending on the year. About 2 to 3 weeks before Passover starts, look for yellow-capped 2-liter bottles of Coca-Cola in your local grocery store. They are usually found in the regular soda aisle, sitting right next to the standard red-capped bottles. The only visual difference is the cap color. Yellow cap, cane sugar, real deal; red cap, high fructose corn syrup, standard US formula. Some stores in areas with large Jewish communities will stock more of them. Kosher grocery stores are a guaranteed find. But even regular supermarkets, Walmart, Kroger, Publix, will often carry them during Passover season if you know to look. Stock up. Seriously. They sell out. How to find Mexican Coke. Look for glass bottles, usually 12 ounces, with the label Hecho en Mexico, which means made in Mexico. You can find these at most taquerias and Mexican restaurants. Many Latin grocery stores carry them year-round. Costco and World Market have stocked them periodically. And yes, they cost more, usually between $3 and $5 a bottle. Is it worth it? I'm gonna let you decide that for yourself. But I will say, if you have never had Mexican Coke ice cold from a glass bottle on a hot day, you have not unlocked the full Coke experience. That is just a fact. Here is the thought I want to leave you with. The next time you crack open a Coke, whether it's from a can, a plastic bottle, a glass bottle, or a fountain machine at a fast food drive-thru, ask yourself one question. Am I drinking the real thing, or am I drinking the version that was cheapest to make in my zip code? Because now you know the answer might not be what Coca-Cola's marketing team wants you to think. The formula changed for a Rabbi. The formula changed for corn subsidies. The formula changes based on your country, your container, and your season. And somewhere out there right now, someone is checking bottle caps in a grocery store. Maybe next time, that someone is you. Welcome to the Hype Hunt.